You're listening to the Southampton Delivery Podcast, a podcast dedicated to the Southampton Football Club and all of the SFC fans.
If you want to have guarantees, you have to buy a wash machine.
Fonte with a scooping header.
We don't lose a match, either we win or we learn. And today we learned.
It's infield to Mane, 25 yards out. Lovely ball for Bella. Onside, 1-0. Buffon shot. Oh my word!
Unbelievable. We ran around the pitch like Bambi on ice. It was very, very embarrassing to watch.
And now, your host, Matt Markstone. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Southampton Delivery Podcast, a podcast and newsletter dedicated to the Southampton Football Club and all the SFC fans, and available right here on SouthamptonDelivery.com. My name is Matt Markstone. I am the host of the show. No matter where you are, no matter how you may be listening, whether this is your first time or you've been here before, thanks for making the show part of your day. I hope that you enjoy it. And if this is your first time, something a little bit different this week. I am currently recording this. My entire family thinks I am packing the car so we can go camping, but I'm not doing that. I'm taking a break to record this because we're not going to be here. I'm not going to be here for the Newcastle match. I won't be here to talk to anybody after the Newcastle match. And so what you are hearing has been recorded well before. But before I left to go camping, I talked with Aydin Osman, and in light of the Saints season ticket prices coming out for next season, he did some dissertation work on season ticket prices and their effect on fans and things like that. And so I figured this was a good chance to talk to him about that. We tried to set some other things up for Southampton Women's Club, and things just kind of fell through. So this week, that's what you get. It's something a little bit different. If you don't like it, we'll be back with another episode next week, but I think everything will be fine. And somebody told me I should say, you get what you pay for. And that's true. And then somebody said, well, what about the patrons? Well, they will get a normal, regular episode sometime after the Watford match, before we play again next weekend. So, they will actually get what they pay for. And, hopefully you feel like you're getting a little bit extra. But anyway, thanks so much for listening to the show. That's really all it is. I am going to head out and go camping. I'm off to get sunburnt and bitten by mosquitoes and play in a river and, just have a lot of fun with my family. So, I hope you do something similar. Happy Easter if you celebrate. I don't know. And that's just outside my house, let alone wait till we get to where we're going. So anyway, thank you so much. Enjoy your day. Enjoy the show. And if you're enjoying all that stuff, be sure to follow Aydin Osman. He's at Aydin_Osman96 on Twitter. And until next time, thanks for listening. We'll talk to you soon. We'd like to welcome back to the Southampton Delivery Podcast, Aydin Osman. You can find him on Twitter at Aydin_Osman96. Aydin, from the kebab shop to home to here, thanks for coming on the show again, and welcome back.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Yeah, a little bit of a ranting about a kebab shop, but let's not go into that.
different show, different, maybe different beverages needed. Currently have some coffee. Enjoying myself. We're packing up to go on our trip, so this will be one of the last things I do before we head out. So it'll be nice. So, anyway, thanks for coming by. And part of what I wanted to talk to you about is obviously I won't be here to record after the game, which is normally what happens. And so we wanted to just kind of dive into your research a little bit. You've been finishing up your schooling, and you've done your dissertation on ticketing and prices and things like that, and its effect that it has on fans and things like that. So with Southampton releasing their season tickets and me kind of being here in the US and not really, I've never had a season ticket to anything other than paying the money to watch the Premier League or paying the money to watch the Astros play every so I can see every game. That's not a ticket. That's just a subscription to something. So I'm interested to see kind of what you found in terms of your research and stuff like that. And if that's okay, I'd just like to dive in.
Yeah, that's fine. So basically, the basis of what I did my dissertation on was how ticket prices and strategies affect the attendances at games within English football. So I didn't just look at Southampton as a whole. I looked at like the whole of the professional English football from the Premier League down to League Two.
Okay.
So obviously, as you can gather, the higher up the spectrum you are, it's different because it's different levels, and clubs have bigger fan bases and bigger stadiums and all the rest of it. But yeah, so that's what I did. I looked at so going into my research, I looked at the average attendance for every game, for each of the clubs that I selected for last season. I looked at their cheapest ticket prices per game. So some clubs, like Southampton do, they offer ticket prices based on categories. So you pay more money to watch the more like luxurious teams like City, Chelsea, Liverpool, and etc. So the bigger teams, you pay them more money, and some teams don't. Some teams offer one price per game for the entire season. So I looked into all of that, and then I went and got some fans' perspectives on the views of their club. So how they thought, whether they thought the ticket strategy was fair, what they thought the strengths were, what they thought the weaknesses were, and obviously what kind of category they fell under and how much they were paying for the ticket in this season just gone.
All right. Well, I mean, so for me, I've only ever been to an away match, so I know that there's a cap on those in terms of what the Premier League and what other teams, I guess, have agreed to charge. I know there's been plenty of kind of complaints coming out of the Fulham camp. They did the Stop the Greed campaign. The Fulhamish podcast was a big part of that, and so I know there's been some things with that. And I guess for me, like, where did this come from in terms of why did you kind of get interested in this topic as the one you wanted to kind of look into for your dissertation?
Honestly, I don't actually know what sparked the idea in my head, but once I had it in my head, I had it like that was firmly what I wanted to do my dissertation on. So because obviously the degree I do is exclusive up at the Etihad, so it's sport, business and coaching. And I kind of been more sort of leaning towards the business side of my degree, so I kind of wanted to understand at like a business level the impacts that ticket pricing has on the attendances, and then how that will affect the club going forward.
So I guess, can you just list off for some of the listeners, like some of the clubs that you looked at and how you went about choosing the clubs that you wanted to look into? Because obviously you didn't look into every team you didn't do the whole 92, I hope.
No,
because
no.
I've talked to you since you started, so I know you have some life. But if you could just go, maybe how did you go about choosing the teams or selecting the teams that you chose to look into?
So the criteria I selected was that I picked two teams from each division. The teams that were selected had to be in the division in the previous season, so that excludes teams getting relegated and going up via promotion. So that was sort of the criteria looking at that. So the 8 teams that I looked at was Manchester City, Southampton, Aston Villa, Bolton Wanderers, Shrewsbury Town, Rochdale, Lincoln City, and Morecambe. And each of those two teams finished at like different ends of the spectrum, given the league table. So Villa finished, I think, 3rd last season. Obviously, we finished 17th, and City went and broke 100 points. And that was sort of my thinking behind it. So it was one team that was just surviving in the league, and one team that was really well performing in it.
All right. Yeah. Okay. I'm with you. And then I guess as you were going through it, I mean, season ticket prices, I guess the clubs always want season tickets because they kind of want to know how much revenue they're going to generate on a given match day, and they can I guess better base it off that. But did you find kind of a big disparity between the divisions in terms of what they were charging, or was the disparity was there a bigger disparity maybe between what City was charging and what Southampton was charging, or maybe we'll start there. I have other kind of questions. I'm interested in what you found.
So season tickets, obviously, as many listeners will know, and anyone who watches football knows, guarantees you a seat to each of the league home games. So there was a bit of a disparity. So the cheapest season ticket I managed to find for an adult at Manchester City was £299. The cheapest one I managed to find at St Mary's was £541. obviously there's different reasons behind that. Not all of, I think there was only a fair few that were at 299 for City, whereas Southampton for an adult tended was 541 was the minimum. And then lower down in the leagues that you went, Villa charged 322, Bolton charged 316, Shrewsbury charged 295, Rochdale charged 200, but they had like a specific scheme on that, which is actually really interesting if you read into it. Lincoln City did 265 and Morecambe did 219. So it would suggest the lower down in the divisions you go, the less you pay to watch the team, because obviously the standard of football is not that high class.
Yeah, but it also seems like I'm guessing the reason that City has some of those cheaper season tickets is because the stadium's so much bigger, I guess, and you have seats that are up in the upper tier. And would that be maybe part of the reason? Because I know fans have
definitely, because most of the time whenever I've gone to watch some tickets have been cheaper in like in the upper tiers, because they've just been sort of you don't really get much atmosphere. You get a decent view, but it's not great.
I think you get to see the Wenger out playing it at high level if you're up there sometimes. But yeah, so I mean that's so I guess obviously you would assume you would pay less as you go down the leagues as you stated, but just like taking a look at some of the stuff. I mean, did you kind of work out like what that works out to like per match, or kind of what people wind up paying in terms of that?
Well, actually, roughly no. I didn't go into that side of it. I went into more sort of the prices and then the attendances for the game. So I looked at how the average attendance was at the stadium,
okay,
and how the prices affected it.
And so, I mean, so what did you find? I mean, because you would think that the lower leagues would struggle a little bit to attract viewership in and of itself. I think maybe if you get down to the League Two level, I think sometimes I have the ability to watch some of the League One and League Two matches, and some of the championship matches here on TV. And sometimes the stadiums aren't full, but I don't know if that's to do with the team. I don't know if that's to do with the league and that's just how it is, or if has to do with the fact that often if I'm watching it some odd hour of the day. But I mean, what did you find in terms of that, I guess? And you start at one end or the other of the spectrum. I don't much matter.
Well, it all depends on the club and the area. Like, I'm going to throw, for example, Shrewsbury aren't a massive club. No disrespect to anyone that's from Shrewsbury or, has any ties with them. But they're really not a massive club, and neither are Rochdale. So their stadiums are quite small. And obviously, when you're a club at that level, it's hard to attract. What I did find actually, though, because Shrewsbury's average attendance was just under 6,000 and Rochdale's was just under 4. I did find that Lincoln City, actually, who were in League Two, just, since their new managers have come in, I don't know if you're aware, but some people listening might be, since the Cowley brothers came in, they won promotion. They went on a historic FA Cup run where they got to the quarterfinals and went to the Emirates, and they lifted the JPT last year, which was quite good. That was throwback trophy. But yeah, since those managers have come in, the club's sort of been on an upward spiral, and obviously, given the last week, they've just won promotion back into League One as well. So I think there's just a real feel-good factor around the club, and obviously with the recent success, their demand for tickets has gone up, which is why their attendance has gone up. And
with that, with the promotion, do you see them having to raise their ticket prices in order to attract, or to be able to pay the players? Because I imagine there'll be some sort of turnover in terms of the squad that is there now and the squad they'll play with next season, and then probably have to pay those players a fair bit more. Being up in the league, am I kind of on the right track there? Yeah,
pretty much, because obviously the higher in the divisions you are, the higher quality players that you get, and those quality of players, want quality wages really. So I'll probably see like a slight increase, but I don't think it'll be anything overly too dramatic.
And so in terms of talking to fans and getting feedback from fans in terms of how they, I guess, how satisfied they were with the ticket prices and stuff like that, is it just a normal, I mean, I think everybody in the United States complains about ticket prices. I think that's just a normal, it's like when you ask somebody how they're doing and everybody just says busy. It's just one of those things that you say, because it's not just the ticket prices. If you're traveling to a match, it's getting there. It's getting the food and stuff on the match day. The match days become quite pricey, I guess, especially if you have to pay for parking and things like that, which I know usually in London you try not to, but if you're traveling from outside the area, I know a lot of people do drive into St. Mary's and stuff like that. So getting feedback from fans, I mean, what was the kind of overall feeling about the prices in terms of what they were getting for their money when they were showing up on a match day?
Quite honest, it's different given the situation of the club. Obviously, I'm going to put it in as simple terms as I can. If the club is basically fighting for relegation and not performing like we were for much of last season, fans are going to question why they bother paying that kind of money to watch their team play like shit. So that was the biggest complaint. And then obviously, given that this is probably now our second consecutive season of, not being at a level that we should be.
Right.
There was a little bit of disgruntlement in the fans that I got from Southampton, because obviously they're not happy with what they're seeing, and they're getting charged a lot to see it. It's like you're charging them to be hurt, and it is a bit unfair. But we'll see about the new ones that's coming out. Yeah,
and so I mean, I do remember a lot of that last season when the prices came out and people said kind of they're being charged kind of. Season ticket prices are up there in terms of, I think they're well inside the top 10 in terms of what they're being asked to pay for season tickets. And you watch what we were getting, and we were getting kind of, boring, kind of poor quality football for much of the season. And I think that even goes back leading into the Puel and Puel seasons, or season, I should say, that just the style of football and what the fans were watching and getting, they weren't kind of enjoying it. And I know that the club has gone some way in terms of trying to improve the match day experience. But correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like what you're saying is eventually it boils down to mostly what they're seeing on the field, more so than if there's clappers in the stands or anything like that.
Yeah, well, that's always going to be the main factor that affects an attendance, because people don't want to go and pay however much money to go watch their team play like crap. Argument though with the Puel season is the fact that actually at the time we started that season, we were a top 6 club and in European competition as well. So you can kind of sort of justify the ticket prices because, we've just had an amazing season. There's no reason to suggest otherwise until, Les went and let Koeman go, and we lost Pella, Mane, and then it all went downhill, basically.
I think we're going back up now, so I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, well, I guess we could talk a little bit about the season tickets that were just the prices that were just released, but we'll get there. But I mean, was there anything else that I mean, did this turn out to be a deterrent for people who were going to, as to whether or not they were going to renew their season ticket, or were people most often kind of they're supporting the team. It's basically based more on can they afford it as a family or as an individual, or was it the team is doing so poorly, or we're not getting enough, and therefore I'm not willing to pay this price, so I'm going to show them that I'm disappointed or that I don't approve. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I did find that most of the people that had season tickets were, there's like, you get different. The academical thing is you've got different types of supporters, especially within sport, and they all fall into like separate categories. So you've probably got your occasional fan that doesn't go to many games, and then you get like your one-time fans that only go once, and then your season ticket holders are more sort of like your die-hard core support, which is actually the technical term for it. So what I found most with season ticket holders, even though they were disappointed and they were disgruntled, majority of them would still stick by the team given that. But obviously there are the exceptions where people can't afford it anymore for, whatever financial background reasons, or like, as you said, people are making a statement just to turn around and be like, well, why did I pay money when we've just scraped, survival on the last day by a point on goal difference or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess one thing I'm wondering is like how many clubs offer some sort of loyalty for keeping your season ticket over a period of seasons versus the new season ticket, and is there generally some sort of I guess break for the people who choose to stay, or as I've heard people complain in the past that a lot of the adult tickets at Saints kind of stay the same for the most part. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah, majority of clubs actually do tend to offer a renewal price, which is slightly cheaper than a new price, but there's not much in it, if I'm perfectly honest with you.
Does it just work out to basically a couple pounds per match, and that's it?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, all right, and I mean, I'll be honest, I don't thoroughly understand the kind of pricing structure. Even looking at Saints' current season, it kind of seems all over the place. I mean, you look at you understand that some places, the like Itchen South, for instance, and I'm looking now. Yeah, I guess at this year's for next season, because this was just released. The Itchen South seems to be the cheapest. It also seems to be a very small section, and kind of, I mean, not necessarily where you would want to sit if you were, if this, yeah, I mean, that doesn't seem like the best seat in the house for sure. But you go down and it kind of, the price doesn't change all that much down from an adult all the way through, the under 11. But yet you get into the family stand, and if you're under 11, you're going in for 19. You're going basically a pound a match. Yeah. But the adult in that section's got to pay $5.41. So it just looking at it, going like, well, I mean, if you're actually a family, there's no break there for you really. You could pay to sit some elsewhere or around the stadium and probably come pretty damn close to the same price, just as long as you're not trying to sit in the luxury areas, Yeah,
that tends to be the way with most football clubs in that sort of division. Well, just in general, to be fair, more the stands that sort of generate atmosphere tend to be the ones that have more of sort of a premium price, and then obviously you get all your pot and your hospitality seats, which they're expensive, but they probably are what you pay, because you probably get like a free program, free drink, free food, or some bam. But you can't wear any colours in the hospitality, which is a bit crap. So,
oh really?
Yeah, both times I went, I got told off for having a Saints shirt, so it's like, lol. Like, cheers, guys.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's not like I'm in the home end, but whatever.
Well, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I think it's because they want it to look, luxurious and exclusive, and I guess football shirts don't really give us that impression, do they?
I guess not. I can understand that. Well, I mean, looking at Saints season ticket prices for this season, I mean, I guess is it some sort of a break from last season? I have looked at them both and I'm suddenly drawing a blank, but maybe is there a little bit difference? And if there's not, if they wind up being about the same price, given what we ended with last season, and what we are kind of ending with this season in terms of the way we're playing and the number of goals we're scoring, and we're speaking before the Newcastle match, but the run that we've been on in terms of just the excitement level and everything else. I mean, would people be, I guess, more okay with the prices, and are they now more in line with the type of team we've been, given that, under Hasenhüttl we're in the top 10, if you just count from either the new year or even when he took over?
To be honest, when I saw the season ticket prices come out, I thought they were cheaper than what they were last season, but still for like ticket prices are quite, they're fairly high. But obviously, because they're cheaper, I've seen quite a lot of the fans on social media, on Facebook and Twitter and all the rest of it, praise getting, because some people have saved like £200 this year for renewing. And it's just, you can't fault the club in the fact that they're at least trying to do something. And, they've done more benefits as well, whereas like season ticket holders can now get like discounts on food and drink inside the stadium before kickoff, and they'll still get their merchandise discount. They'll get money off coach travel. They'll get discount on, if they ever need to hire a room at St Mary's for whatever reason. So there's bits done, definitely.
All right. And then with that, I mean, was that something that you kind of found across a lot of the other clubs that you looked at, or was that, it sounds like it sounds new, it sounds exciting to me and new to me, but like, is that maybe a pretty standard thing for clubs to do?
Like, you always get benefits other than just having a season. You always get like, most clubs tend to give benefits like, like £10, 10% discount on the mega store or something like that. One of the biggest things that I found when I was doing my research is that, especially this was pre these season ticket prices coming out, which from the fans was that, especially at Southampton, was that there wasn't enough sort of reward or sort of loyalty scheme for renewing your season ticket. You just felt like, oh, you kind of got the same thing just for another season.
Yeah, well, it looks like even this year, if we're just going adult pricing, the loyalty price for the Itchin South, for the family stand, are the same, and there's a slight discount for the wings and goals category. And then as you get into the like, and those tickets are, for the Itchin South $3.99, for the family stand $5.41. Those stay the same, but then you get into some of these ones that are costing somebody that's coming in for the first time £855 for a season ticket. There is a, it's just over £100 break for those. But like, I mean, yeah, I mean, £100 is £100, but it just doesn't seem like there's quite, like, I'm not looking there and seeing a massive reward. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, £100 is still £100. I'd love to have £100, just thrown in my bank account out of nowhere. It's an improvement. It's just, it's not much of one, as I don't really want to sound disrespectful, but
no.
We could be charging a lot less, and we could be charging a lot less per game. So the
argument that I most often
hear, an improvement, but
sorry,
go on.
Yeah, the argument that I most often hear, especially is in the Premier League, is it's the TV revenue that is really what drives the club and is the main kind of it's the main payment that the club is going to receive. And in other leagues where maybe the TV rights deals aren't as lucrative, or maybe they're chopped up in different ways, that the match day pricing and the match day revenue is so important. And not to say that the match day revenue isn't as important for Saints here, and everybody wants people in the stands, but it seems like there has to be a line somewhere where people go like, well, I can stay home and save, £1,000, so whatever it is, once I eat and do all this other stuff, versus, and that's worth it to me, versus, I don't want to pay this certain price. But I mean, I would say that when I look at it from my perspective, when I come over, I'm willing to pay, just about anything to get into a match, because it's a once in a lifetime, not once in a lifetime, but it's not an everyday thing for me, whereas I think the season ticket holders probably have a different view on it, because they are paying to go to that. And at some point, I mean, if I were to take my son every week, there would be, sure, he would enjoy the match and want to see the match, but there's probably something else as a child that he wants to get out of it, in terms of seeing the mascot or playing some game or doing something. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's 100%. And I think that's what more clubs are trying to get into now. They're trying to get into more sort of fan engagement and, improve the experience on match days, which is, I'm quite lucky in the fact that I get to go to like quite a few away games, and in the sense that I get to see how different clubs, tackle these match day build-ups and, events and all of this. And then obviously with uni being based at a stadium, so I get to see how like City do their events, and it's all of that's great, but it still boils down to the performance on the pitch having the impact, at the full time. And granted, especially in the Premier League, a lot of the TV money does. It probably does cover the club for a good lot. But what we need to realise is the better we are performing, is the more TV money we're going to get, because we're going to be more attractive to these, to these broadcasters, because we're playing well, which is why we've probably not featured as much on TV this season, because we've not been great. I mean, granted, we didn't feature much last season, but under Puel we were on quite a bit. Especially with the Europa League, we were pretty much on. All of our games were on BT, and then you've got all of like the Premier League games that go on to BT, and then Sky, and then Super Sunday, and all of the rest of it.
Yeah, so just looking at kind of some numbers back from this is from 16-17. We were still owned by Gao at this point. Match day stuff, 22 million. Broadcasting, 143 million. Commercial revenue, 16 million. Other income, 1 million. So I mean, you add up all the other categories, and it's not even close. And that just, I mean, you could lose. I almost think if you lose some match day revenue in terms of lowering those ticket prices, that your potential for commercial revenue and other things goes up, because you get more people in the stadium to buy shirts and things like that. I think the money still gets spent there, but people maybe leave feeling like they've got something extra for their money. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's pretty much kind of the point that I argued as well. I was saying that, especially at an elite level, with the money that you get via TV revenue and, player transfers and all the rest of it, you still may as well lower the prices to get more people in the gates and more people supporting their team. And you know what it's like. The more the crowds behind the team, the probably better confidence they're going to have on the pitch to try these expansive and, these different things to keep going forward.
Yeah. So, I mean, with that said, it's, it'll be interesting to see what kind of improvements maybe that the club chooses to make around the ground. And I know a lot of that's going to come from the fan voice panel in terms of things they'd like to see. And I'm always wondering and interested if the reaction we get off of Twitter, if that's a true reflection of some of the other fans that maybe aren't on there. Because I know that sometimes there are plenty of other fans that don't use social media, or miss the post or whatever, or just don't complain, because oftentimes the people that are happy don't say how happy they are. It's the people who are upset that enjoy letting everybody know. And I'm sure you and I are the same in terms of, I don't necessarily block a lot of people, but I mute a lot of words because I'm tired of hearing it. So, maybe we don't get a fair reflection. I'm not sure. So it'll be interesting to see how the club progress and kind of what feedback they are given directly from the season ticket holders and those people who visit just occasionally on a match day. And I hope that, as we move up the table, I hope that the ticket prices will stay in line with where they are now, if not going down a little bit. And if we don't move up the table, although I'll be honest, I was looking at the table before, and we're almost to the point now where I'm starting to look up instead of down, and that may be dangerous. I don't want to jinx us, but we have a better goal difference than a couple of teams who are above us, and if we could just get there to the points, I'd be pretty happy. And that makes a big difference, because each Premier League place is worth several £1 million in terms of revenue.
Yeah, that's I'm completely the same. I'm not going to lie to you. I've kind of gotten sucked into the illusion where I'm starting to look up the table now and think, oh, if we go beat Newcastle tomorrow, we're above them by a point. And then suddenly, things start playing on your mind, and it's like, oh well, Ralph Stevens stated he wants to go unbeaten to the end of the season. Now I'm like, no, there's no reason that we can't do it, especially given the fixtures that we've got. We go unbeaten. There's realistically, we could finish above Bournemouth, and we've not been above them all season.
Right.
That would actually make my day just to cut them up as well.
And obviously we're speaking before Newcastle, so this all might sound terrible when it comes out on Tuesday. But Aydin, I just want to say thank you for sharing your research. Wish you the best of luck as you move forward in presenting that and finishing up with this portion of the schooling. And hopefully the mood around the Etihad, where your campus is not too glum after their Champions League exit from the other night. But pleasure to have you on, and I will talk to you soon. And if anybody wants to get in touch with you, they can do that at Aydin_Osman96. Links are in the show notes, and thanks.
Yeah, no worries.
And that does it for this episode of the Southampton Delivery Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope that you've enjoyed it. Special thanks goes out to my guest this week, Aydin Osman. You can find him on Twitter at Aydin_Osman96. He'll be presenting that dissertation research soon, so congratulations to him. And thank you to everybody who listens. Thank you to the patrons of the show for helping keep it going, keeping it advertisement free. It really does make my day. Need to shout out a couple of people who make the show possible. Everybody at the Southampton page, Jay, Aydin is part of that team, Jack, everybody who helps make that news, those news accounts go. Do that. Go follow them. They're nearing 2,000 followers on Twitter. So try to get that done if you can. And you can also follow them on Instagram. They are a huge help to me, and they're a partner of the show, and the show wouldn't really be possible without them. Matt Beeling of the We Are Southampton page, also someone I need to thank. He does the artwork for the show, the logo for the show. And if you're not following the We Are Southampton page on Instagram, you're missing out on some truly incredible match day edits, polls, competitions, and other things of that nature. If you'd like to follow this show on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, you can do that. We're at SFCDELL_IVERY on Twitter and Instagram. We're at Facebook.com/SFC Delivery. There is no underscore in the Facebook address. And everything is available at SouthamptonDelivery.com, where you can sign up for the newsletter. You can subscribe to the show. You can leave a comment. You can get in touch with us on social media. You can do all of that stuff directly through the website. So visit SouthamptonDelivery.com. If you're enjoying the show and you feel like supporting it, you can leave a review on iTunes or wherever you listen, or you can actually join and subscribe and become a Patreon. Get access to all the stuff that Patreons get, including having priority for having their questions answered on the show. You get access to a private Discord channel where we talk about Saints and other stuff, and apparently share books. Or you can subscribe at the $5 a month level, get a bonus episode per month. That's what those guys will be getting after the Watford match this week. So remember at the top of the show I told you we were getting ready to go camping. I'm actually sitting in the exact same spot that I was then. It's literally like 15 seconds later. I just paused for a while, and then I let you listen to Aydin. So yeah, so anyway, that's there. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, subscribe, let a friend know, all that stuff. If not, check back next week, give us another chance. And hopefully we're marching towards safety. So that's it for now. Until next time, remember, together we march on.